Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today I am talking about the books I read in September, where I ended up reading 37 books. I think mostly thanks to Manga Night, as we would have been on like 30 I think. And yeah, I don't know why I keep doing it, I just do. We're gonna be quick and fast, and I have reviews for a lot of these because a lot of them are arcs. So I will leave a link to those down below. And let's get started with rapid fire reviews. For 37 books I read in September. First of all, I have The Spirit Bears Its Teeth by Joseph Andrew White. This one is, you guessed it, an arc, and I have a full review on my channel. Basically, this follows a trans teen who is growing up in, was it 1883 London? He is not accepted as he is, and they want to arrange a marriage for him and he doesn't want to, and then he's put into this constitution because they believe that he's suffering from whale sickness, because he can also communicate with the other side, because that's where his family is from, because that's like inherited in his family. And then basically he's finding out things in this constitution / school. It's really dark and very sad, but very, very well written and just well done overall for the characters, for the setting. Really good atmosphere. Overall, really enjoyed it, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. And again, more thoughts in my review. Then I read Berserk Volume 10 Deluxe Edition, which was the only one I read in the month. I didn't get to the next one until now in October. And this one follows Guts, who's a sportsman. We get his whole like backstory of how he ended up there, and he's going around fighting demons. And it is so much more darker than I just described. It's one of the best things I ever read. I have like a full vlog series on my channel where I read through them with full spoilers, and I love it so much. It is terrible, but I love it. I love the story so much, and I can't wait to continue. I'm soon caught up and I'm terrified. And yeah, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, obviously. Then I read Serwa Boateng's Guide to Witchcraft and Mayhem, which is the second book in the Serwa series. And in this one, we follow Serwa, who is a hunter. They hunt like demons with her family, and then in the first book she's put in this normal school while her parents are doing this big hunt because she can't come with them, and then it turns out that there's monsters where she is going to school, and then she needs to have this friend group and they are fighting the monsters there, and it's just the best thing. It's so wonderful and good. I was just shocked by this because I thought it was a duology for some reason, and then the story didn't wrap up, so I was all confused throughout a lot of the book because I was just like, are we not gonna end the story? There's another book coming at least. Very happy about it because I do really enjoy these characters and excited to see more character development. But again, do have a full review on my channel, so check that out. But I really enjoyed it and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read Alene and Trofeet, which is the trophy, both 1 and 2 in the Dark Elf, which is a Norwegian graphic novel series. And I read this because I was really curious about it, because it was talked about a lot, and it's like dubbed as the first Nordic manga. And I didn't really love it because I do think the art is really beautiful. I just don't think they're written really well. The main topic in this is racism and discrimination in general, and I don't think that the author manages to carry this topic well. I do think it was very on the surface level instead of dwelling down deep on what it really is about. I did enjoy the second one more than the first one, which I didn't really like at all, just because how these topics were carried. So other like mental illness tropes and other tropes in it that I didn't enjoy. But the second one do like manage to delve into like a kind of commentary on capitalism, which I thought were interesting, but it was still not any consequences yet for like the things happening in the first one. So I'm a bit confused of like how this story is going to play out, and I will probably keep reading it because that's what I do, but I just didn't love it because I don't think it managed to carry these heavy topics well, and it made me a bit uncomfortable to read. I'm not saying that it was terrible, I just, for me, it wasn't enough to what it wanted to do. I do think, as I said, the art is beautiful. I just think that it could have been written better. Then I read Ringload or Vingebelastning by Helga Flatland. I was reading through this author who is Norwegian because I was going to meet her and I wanted to read all of her books, and I literally managed to forget one because I forgot it existed, like the idiot I am. But this is one of her books. It's really short. It's about this dude that has gotten diagnosed with depression, and then he is just kind of on sick leave, and it's just like doing, I don't really know how to describe it well, but he's just kind of going around being on sick leave, and it's nothing wrong with being on sick leave, but it's just how it is approached, where I don't know if you're supposed to feel empathy with the main character or the people around him, because he could be very self-absorbed and I feel like it's not completely his fault. So it was hard for me to like, my emotions were conflicted, which I do think shows that it's a well-written book because it's making you think. But yeah, it was really interesting. It was really interesting to see the healthcare system for mental health in general in Norway, because like I am kind of familiar with it, and it was just interesting to see it represented in the book because I'm not that used to it. And I did overall like it, but it's not like my favorite by the author, but it was still really well written, and it made me be like, So yeah, I don't know exactly what I rated it, like 4, I think. Then I read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, which is like the most hyped book of the year. First one in the series, where we have these people that go to a dragon school, and the people who can't make it through the school literally die. Now we have main character who enters this school, and then she's just trying to survive through graduation, and then she meets this dude who's like kinda has stems in a rebellion because his father was like, I was gonna call it a rebelist, but I think that's the wrong word. A person part of a rebellion was his father, and people like judge him for it, etc. And he's all like dark powers, blah 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 blah. And it's a fantasy romance. It had really interesting world. I do think that some parts of it didn't make sense, and I just didn't understand like, why are we killing these able-bodied people that could like shovel shit or like, I don't know, do repairs. I don't know, they could do so many things, and then we're just murdering them. I just didn't get that part. I did have a really enjoyed the characters and their like connections and like how they felt for each other. It felt really genuine, and I really cheered for my main character, really liked her. And I really liked how she had a disability and everyone like looked down upon her for it, but she's just showing everyone she can do like what everyone else can do, just maybe have to work even harder for it because she has this disability. And I thought it was a lot of the good parts of it actually, and I really enjoyed it. I got very emotionally attached to it as well, and I cried in the end, and I had a really good time, and I enjoyed the plot twists in the end. It was just parts of it that was like, huh, and the sex scenes were they were hilarious to me, but I had a good time, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm excited to read the next one. Then I have Stay If You Can, which is a whole trilogy, again by the same Norwegian author. This one follows this really small town in Norway where a group of friends there go to the military and they all die, and then we just have like the kind of the consequences of how this town is dealing with the sorrow of losing people that basically everyone knew, and such young people as well, because well, it's just a very close-knit community, and it was a really interesting like way to look upon like small villages, small towns in Norway, and I thought it was really good reflections. It was very good characters, very good character writing in general. I literally felt so much for them. It was so good. The beginning was like literally like a 5-star book, and then it ebbed a bit in the end where I didn't care as much for the characters because we follow other people, and I just like didn't care about the motivations as much. But it was just very good, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I think I ended up just reading One Piece as well in a month, because the next one I just read yesterday, and that was the 4 Omnibus edition, which is volume 10, 11, and 12. And this one I didn't get to read in time for the TV shows. I already watched it, but it was still obviously a good time, and I just love them so much, and I just love these characters so much. And videos are coming where I read through like all of these. I just like need to fit them in a schedule, but honestly like love the story so much, and I'm so excited to continue it. I think we are in manga night now, because a lot of manga come one off one another. The next one I read for that was Beastars volume 22 by Paru Itagaki. Do you also think the last vlog I posted is the last manga night where I read these? This I finished the series actually, and Beastars basically set in this society where we follow herbivores and carnivores, and they don't kill each other anymore. They just kind of live in the society as humans, and there's a lot of like black market stuff and politics stuff in this world. And we follow Legoshi, who's like a big scary wolf, but he's actually a softie, and he falls in love with a bunny. So you can see how that goes. And it was interesting to read this whole series. Again, 22 volumes, it's not that much. It feels like ages for me because I spent such a long time actually getting through it. And I did really enjoy it. I just don't think it ended with a bang. There was definitely changes in the world and interesting to look upon like the story we had. But it wasn't like any specific huge things that happened in the end. It just kind of went its course and ended, and I do think I overall enjoyed the series. I just don't think it's like a favorite, but it's a very enjoyable one that I would definitely recommend. Then I read To Your Eternity volume 5 by Yoshihiko Oima. This one follows this orb that can turn into people or animals or living creatures, I could say, and there's about the world basically, and they're just such a like shadow thingy hunting them, and then we just basically have them experiencing different things in the world. Right now we are in like a island arc kind of things where weird stuff is happening, and it's interesting to see how the story will go because there's many volumes. I'm curious to see how many times we can just go a place and then go to a new place like over and over and over again, but it's interesting so far, and I will continue it, obviously. Then I read Demon Slayer 14 by Koyoharu Gotuge. Obviously, I thought I was going to read more, but then I switched some stuff around, so I ended up only reading 1 volume. And Demon Slayer follows Tanjiro, whose whole family was killed by demons, except his sister was turned into one, and he's trying to figure out if it's possible to turn it back into a human. And then we just had different fights and arcs, and I love it so much, and it's such an enjoyable story, so I'm very excited to, in theory, almost own all of them now, but I'm excited to continue and see how it actually ends, because I honestly don't know how it would end. Then I read actually Chainsaw Man Volume 3 and 4 by Tatsuki Fujimoto. I skipped it ahead of line because we are watching the anime and it covers up to Volume 5, so that is my next manga actually, so that I wouldn't be spoiled, kinda. Not that it matters, but I just wanted to do it like that. And this one follows Danji, who can turn his arms and his head into chainsaws, and then they are working for this ministry that is responsible for the safety of the citizens, and they are basically like hunting down devils, etc. And it's just chaotic and super weird. It's really fun, very violent, very fun. And we have right now, as I'm filming this, 2 episodes left of the anime, so I need to read a 5th volume, which I'm going to do tomorrow, so that we can watch the rest. But yeah, it is a fun series, but super weird. Then I finally read March Comes In Like a Lion by Chiko Mino. It finally came in English, even though in theory I could have tried reading in Japanese, but here we are. And this one follows a main character, Rei, who is a shogi player, and then he basically is terrible at taking care of himself and has had a really bad adolescence when he grew up. He has not had it out good. Now this family is basically taking him in and it's super cute to him, and it goes into my heart, and I'm excited to actually see where the story will go, because I only watched the first season of the anime like a billion years ago, so I don't actually know where it will go, and I'm excited to see how it goes. Then I actually read Learn My Lesson by Katie Robert, which is the second book in the Wicked Villain series, which is retellings of the Disney movies where they end up with a villain instead of like the prince, and they are very sexual, like there's sex all the time. I love it. In this one we actually have Hercules, I'm saying Hercules, but well, he was also there. Hercules, Meg and Hades. And I might not just end up with one of them. It was a good time. It was a lot of sex. It's like tiny developments in the relationships, etc. And a bit plot with mostly sex. And I don't care, because that's what I wanted. That's what I like. That's what I know this series is. So when I'm in a mood for that, I will read this. It's very entertaining. And I love sex. I don't know what else to say. Then I read The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. This one follows this bodyguard who's going to protect this famous person, and then I need to pretend they're dating because he doesn't want his family to know he has a bodyguard. And they obviously fall in love. It's a romance book where everything was very predictable. It used basically all the romance tropes it's possible to use. And the relationship was kind of like, I didn't really get why they liked each other. And there was no smut, and I wanted to like it and like feel giggly for them, but it was just kind of cringe at times for me, so I didn't love it. I don't remember how many stars I rated it. It was entertaining at times when I was reading it, but overall like a forgettable romance I will probably not remember I read unless someone asks me. Then I read The Storm Runner, The Fire Keeper, and The Shadow Crossers. I'm just talking about them all together because it is the full trilogy. This is the Storm Runner trilogy by G.C. Cervantes, and I listened to audiobook for all of them. 1 and 2 was rereads, and the third one was like me completing the series after a billion years. And that was because I have the arc of the second series by this author, and they do kind of connect together. I was supposed to get to that as well, but I didn't. But here we are. So this one follows Saint Obispo, who finds out that he is related or not related to a Mayan god, and then he goes out on these adventures to save the world. Obviously it is Rick Riordan's Presents, so it is like in the path of Percy Jackson and all that stuff we love, and it's a very fun and enjoyable series. I had a great time. Some characters I really enjoy, some great humor, and just great rap in general. It was just a great time, and just fun plot twist, over dramatic stuff happening. It's like how these teenagers are so dramatic. I love it. So yeah, it was really fun to actually complete the series, even though I have the second one in an arc that doesn't match the others. I will fix it eventually when I'm feel richer. It was a good thing to finish. Overall, like a 4 out of 5 star series, and I would definitely recommend it if this is the kind of middle grade you enjoy. It's definitely recommendable. Then I read Prince of Thorns and Nightmares by Lindsay Miller. This is the second book in Princess YA series, and in this one we follow Philip, obviously from Sleeping Beauty. I have a full review on my channel on this, but basically I didn't love this as much as I loved the Little Mermaid one, which was the one before this. I just didn't feel it connected with the movie as well. I didn't really care for the story, and like the final conflict could have been like explored more. So like it was just okay, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read Night of the Witch by Sarah Roche and Betty Revis. This is again an arc, and I have a full review on my channel. This one follows a witch and a witch hunter that do meet, and guess what? Guess what they do? They fall in love, maybe, or maybe not. And I just didn't think it was written well enough for me, where like I didn't think anything was developed well, like the world or the characters. I didn't really care that they cared for each other. Didn't care about anything in this book in general, and I just didn't have a good time. So personally, it was not for me. There's definitely audience for this, but it was not me, and I gave it like 2 out of 5 stars. Then I finally continued Oshi No Ko by Aka Akasaka. So this one follows this doctor that is treating this idol at a hospital. And then their paths connect more. I don't know like what more you want to say about the series, because it's kind of spoilery. I didn't know anything when I started it, and it's just so weird, but very interesting. It's just a lot about like the idol industry, while at the same time we have this mystery of a certain thing happening. It's so bizarre, but very entertaining and good, and I am enjoying myself so far. This is, as I said, volume 2. And I'm excited to see where the story will go. I have literally no idea. Then I had a little Patreon readathon, which a vlog is coming for. And I read a bunch of books that my Patreon decided. So the first one I read was Ember and Stone by Megan O'Russell. This is the first one in this indie fantasy series. We have a main character who's growing up in this society that is very much, what's it called, like, they are suppressed. Like, it's going terribly, like they can't breathe and soldiers will punch them in their face. And then she basically loses everything and joins the rebellion in a way, and we just learn about his society in this world, and I really actually enjoyed it. It was like interesting to see the character development of our character and see her use the, I was gonna say, the mattresses she got to further her, what's it called, wishes. And I enjoyed like the other characters. It wasn't like amazing and like the best book ever, but I had a good time and I gave it 2 out of 5 stars, and I have the whole series that Fiji gifted to me, so I'm excited to continue and see where the story will go. Yay. Then I read Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb. So in this one we follow first a dragon that drops into the human world, and he needs to get his bond with another human, or like he doesn't need to, but he gets a bond with another human, and he needs to strengthen it, or like what's it called, lock it forever, so that he can take the powers of this human. And then we follow both of their perspectives, how they like are trying to not fall for each other, but they have to fall for each other to fulfill this bond, and there might be betrayal coming. So it's kind of like a romance with like an interesting world, but they also like go on like these missions because she's also a thief. And then you will see how the story goes. It was interesting. I was definitely more interested in the beginning than like the middle part where they were like babbling, and I didn't like love it because like you kind of know where we go, so it was a bit boring because of that, but it was like okay, and I would read the next one because I'm curious to see where the story will go as always, and I ended up giving this as well 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read Flamefall by Rosaria Munda, which is a sequel to Fireborn. So I read 2 books with fall after one another, both to do with dragons. This is confusing to me at this period of time. I read it on Kindle, but I have ordered a hardcover that should arrive next week. This one is obviously the sequel to Fireborn, where we have these 2 characters that are going to a dragon school, and they are now like competing to who would be like the first rider, the leader of like their class of dragon riders. And then at the same time we have a rebellion stirring, but a rebellion has already kind of won. They took down the regime, the old regime that was like terrible, and now we're like living in new ages. And then we might fight or not fight different places. We need to find out our loyalties, etc. in the first book. And then in this one we obviously continue that story. We had a new point of view in this one, but I was just like, who is this? And it was interesting, and I did enjoy a lot of parts of it, but I didn't like love it as much as the first one, and it wasn't as invested as in the first one. So I think I gave it 3.5, but rounded up to 4 stars. Then I read Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent, which is the same author as Serpent of Wings and Night. This one I read on my Kindle as well. And in this one we had, what even happened? We had a main character who was just freed as a slave, but she's trying to go back to save her best friend, and then she meets this dude. What even happened? I blocked out this book because I didn't enjoy myself. We had these two characters and they fall for each other eventually, and it wasn't even any smut. I thought it would be smut because I know Serpent Wings and Night has smut. Either way, that's not that important. Apparently it is important, but it's not important. But my point is that I didn't really get why they liked each other. Overall, the book was so long and never ended. It was like 550 pages. And I didn't enjoy myself, so I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. And now I have mostly forgotten the book because I just out of my brain afterwards. The last book I read for that readathon is Identitti by Mitu Sanyal, which basically follow a main character that is really looking up to her professor and has been looking up to her for a long time, but then she finds out that she's actually white. She's thought she was a woman of color this whole time, and she's basically questioning, like, can I even trust anything she's been talking about, because she's been like teaching them about racism and all that. It's very, very interesting, very, very, I was gonna say relevant to our days, but part of it was like, I even questioned which side I was on, because it's really complicated, because you have this personal relationship to someone that you love and then they lie to you about a thing that shouldn't be lied about. And I personally didn't agree with all the decisions our main character made, but I could definitely like see why they were made, which is why I think it's so important to think about reflections upon others. And it was just very interesting topics in it in general. I was kind of almost like put off, because I was like, dang, arguments that are giving here, like they were trying to convince me almost, and I was just like, no, stop it, because it was just written in a way that makes you really think. And I do think it's a very important book to read and reflect upon. So it was interesting. I didn't like love it, but I don't regret reading it, and it definitely, as I said, had interesting thoughts. So I think I gave it like 3.5. I don't even know if I rounded up or down. I have no idea. Then I read Komi Can't Communicate by Tomohito Oda, volume 4. So this one follows Komi, who has really, really social anxiety. So she can't really speak at all, while people think she's just aloof and very cool. And then she wants to get 100 friends, but don't know how to communicate this. So she's starting to get some friends that is going to help her with this. And it's just her in different social situations. It's very sweet and wholesome, and maybe very relatable for a lot of people. Maybe, I know it is, but yeah, it's very good. Then I read Project Hail Mary by Annie Veer. This might seem very random, but I was listening to this with Erica on audio because I wanted her to read it. We started in August and we didn't finish it until like late September or something, and it is a very good book that I really, really enjoyed. The audiobook sounds exactly like Tony Stark, by the way. Like, I was surprised it wasn't him. So first, this dude that wakes up somewhere, and then slowly he reveals to why and how he got there. We get like flashbacks to why, and then we just follow him trying to get out of it in a way. I don't want to say more because slowly things are being revealed, a bit like a mystery. So I feel like saying it would kind of spoil parts of the experience of the book. But it was very enjoyable. It's very good. I still don't give it 5 stars, but it's just a very, very good book that has really, really fun twists in it. Then I read The Wheel Throne by Ken Liu, which is the 3rd book in the Dandelion Dynasty Quartet, which is the series we are about reading on my Patreon. I do like the series, I just don't think I love it, and I'm like mind blown with like I thought it would be. I think it's very confusing overall, but it has good vibes in it. So here we have elements happening. I don't even know how to talk about the series, but basically it follows these islands that are being ruled, and then like different people are fighting for this, and then we have different wars and different elements and invasions and different things happening. It's very cool and has cool things, but I do think the way they are written makes me zone out a bit, which is unfortunate, but I still enjoy parts of it and parts of the characters, etc. Then I read Blue Flag Volume 7 by Kaito, which is the 2nd to last volume, but now I've seen a lot of people not liking the end, so now I'm nervous. But this one basically follows these 2 characters that are all in love with each other, and it's queer and almost sweet. But this one had a lot of discussions of homophobia, because some characters found out obviously that some of them were gay because it's queer, and it was just very terrible to read because it just messed with my brain, because it was just very detailed and intense. And obviously it's good to have those discussions. I just didn't expect them to go so intensely into it, but obviously it's good, but it's also like, did we need this? I don't know. But yeah, it's overall a interesting series, and I'm soon done. Oh my god. Then I read Hurricane Wars by Thea Granson. This one I have a full review on my channel, and it is a Filipino fantasy inspired main character who is like in the military. They're fighting against this, what's it called, Shadow King? Night Emperor, Shadow Knight, and she keeps meeting the prince, and it's actually a fantasy romance apparently, and then things happen and things are revealed about our main character, and I didn't love it. I thought it was going to be high fantasy, but then it was a fantasy romance, which is fine, but I don't think the fantasy romance was done that well. I don't think the world building was done that well. I don't think the relationship was done that well, so then it didn't have anything for me in the end. And I give it like 2 out of 5 stars, and I feel like a lot of people really are loving it though, so don't listen to me and just read it if you want to. Then I read By Any Other Name by Erin Carter. This one I thought I had read in October because I was supposed to read a GC Cervantes book, but I didn't get to that, so I had to move this up instead. A review is coming because it's definitely not coming before this, I think, but I have filmed it. And this is a historical fiction following Will, set in 1593. He is an actor on the stage, and then he loses his job and needs to do something else to earn money so he can go back to his family. And then we meet known figures like Shakespeare and the Queen Elizabeth, and there's like a mystery and assassins, and it was a fun time. It knew what it was doing. It was like very light and humoristic. Overall just good vibes, and I ended up giving it like a decent 3 out of 5 stars, where it was fun and interesting, but like not explosively best book ever, but still fun, and I would recommend it. Then I read Drømmens sykkelregister, or the Dreamer's Bike Register, which is a Norwegian book by Alan Lee. Basically I just had to read something one day, and then I just had gotten the arc of this, so I read it. This is basically about my character who makes a register of bikes we use in our dreams, and it's very weird and like cozy but bizarre. It's literally like a fever dream, which is a bit funny because it is about dreams. I definitely knew the chaoticness it was creating, like it did it on purpose, and I feel like it was just done very well. It's really, really, really short, like 130 pages, but I like overall really enjoyed the vibes, and it just like, again, was just so bizarre, like a fever dream, but it was very enjoyable for what it was. Then I actually managed to get to He Who Drowned the World by Shani Parker Chan, which I thought I wouldn't get to, and I said so in my October TBR, but suddenly there was room for it. So this one is obviously the sequel to She Who Became the Sun, and it's the final of the Trilogy. She Who Became the Sun follows Shu, who is following her great destiny and becoming the emperor of, well, I was going to say China, but it's not what they call it here. It's just such a masterpiece of a story that I can't even explain. And I read She Who Became the Sun twice, and it was stunning, and now I feel like I need to already read this again. I'm not saying like I didn't get the story, like overall I get what was happening and like the events and like how it played out. Loved it, by the way, but it's just something about like some details where I feel like just experience the story again and again, you will pick up more and more. Like I did that on my reread of She Who Became the Sun, and it's just the way they're told, the way they're so queer and just have so much in them that I don't think I can express enough. But just stunning, absolutely stunning. Some of my favorite trilogy. And I want to, as I said, already reread it, which I think is a good sign, because that's what I want to do with my favorites. And I can't believe how the story went. It was sad and heartbreaking, but just absolutely beautiful, and loved it. Gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Woo! We somehow survived to the last book, which was This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal Al-Mothar and Black Gladstone. This is the Facing Gaze pick for September and my last read for the month. And this one follows these 2 people in a town war, and they write letters to each other, and then they fall in love. And it's really bizarre again. It's like you kind of don't know what's going on, but you know what's going on. And I have thoughts of it, which I'm gonna try to express more in the live show. But it's like, it was good. I really liked the writing. I liked a lot of parts of it, but I don't think it's like the best book I ever read either. I think it's too confusing for me to be that. I feel like upon reread you would maybe enjoy it more, so it's a book kind of you maybe need to read several times. Not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, but a lot of people maybe don't enjoy that. Maybe people are also smarter than me to understand everything that was going on. But overall I enjoyed the vibes and it was beautiful, but it's like not the best thing I ever read. So right now I'm putting myself on like a 3.75. We received our lovers or goes higher under the live. It tends to go down every live. So I don't know. Whew. But that was the 37 books I read in September. Thank you so much for anyone who managed to survive through all this video. I thought that I wouldn't survive, and I just need to stop reading this much, because then I don't need to talk that much in the wrap-ups, I realized. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Leave a ship emoji down below if you enjoyed this. You should see me soon in a video. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye!